Well, hey gang, welcome back to my channel, and it has now been 2 weeks since we have moved into the flat, so we're settled in, not everything's sorted, but we're getting there slowly. Just getting like bits of storage here and there to just kind of finish up the last few boxes, and then we're pretty much done, which is quite crazy. But I thought I would do a little Q&A about just generally moving house, moving out for the first time, being a first-time buyer in this day and age, doing the help to buy process, which is something that we went through as well. Any questions that I've had in general, I've noted down. Any questions that I had from my Instagram on YouTube, I've noted down. I also popped on my Instagram stories a few weeks ago a question box for you guys to pop any questions that you had in that I could include in this video as well. I did plan on doing it a little bit sooner, however, I wanted to do it with Vic really, but every day that he's been working, I've been off and our timetable has just not aligned, and when we have had time together, we've just been sorting the flat out, so it's not really worked out, and I didn't want to leave it too long, so then we didn't really have the knowledge to answer the questions that was fresh, because I didn't want too much time to pass and we not be able to answer the questions properly for you. So I thought I'm just going to do it on my own and also include some of Vic's ideas and his thoughts too that he has mentioned throughout this whole process as well. So it's kind of a joint thing. Yeah, it's just going to be me answering all of the questions that you guys have had about the house buying process as a first time buyer. I am a little bit worried that the plumber is going to turn up while I'm recording this video, because we've had a few little snags in the plumbing within this property, which I will go into later down the line. But I'm waiting for him or her to show up, and I'm a little bit worried they're going to walk in and see me talking to a camera, which kind of looks a bit weird to most people out there, but to me it's kind of normal now. But I also do have a tea and biscuit, so if you don't, go and get one. Tea has been just something that's got me through this whole house sorting process, and biscuits as well. I tried to do a little biscuit ban for Lent, couldn't do it, could not do it. Biscuits are my personality at this point. I got these from B&M earlier and oh my god, they're incredible. Cadbury's chocolate just hits different. I'm also really sorry if you can hear loads of wind, loads of noise. It's probably the workers outside, because we're still on kind of a building site. Because it happens all the time, we don't really register the noise anymore, which kind of goes in one ear out the other. But you guys might notice it, so I'm really sorry if you do, and I hope it's not too distracting. How long was the process from start to finish? So the process took, I think it was 4 months in total, which isn't very long compared to how long some people had to wait. But I guess that helped by the fact that we were first time buyers. So that was actually a very quick process, but at the time, really didn't feel it at all. What made you choose an apartment over a house? Basically, a little backstory is we chose to speak to a mortgage broker in August when we were just trying to suss out our situation, where we are, and whether we are actually in a position to buy, because we were really kind of desperate at that point to get out of our houses, out of our parents' houses. Not because we hate our parents in any way, but it was more so having our own space. Like, we're 24 now and we just want the space. We want to just become a bit more independent, both of us, but together. So we spoke to a mortgage broker, that's what we chose to do, and just basically told them our incomes, what we had saved so far, and it was just really good to just speak to them, understand the process a bit more of buying a house, understand our situation. It was just generally really, really eye-opening, and I definitely recommend going to speak to a mortgage broker if you don't really know where to start. You don't necessarily have to pay for a mortgage broker. You can go to ones that don't charge, and then they get a little bit commission from the bank that the mortgages are provided from. So that's exactly what we did. We didn't actually pay anything to speak to our mortgage broker, and he was honestly brilliant. So yeah, we basically said, this is our situation, what can we do? Didn't really expect anything out of that, and he basically said, you are ready to buy. This is the amount of a property you can afford to live comfortably as well. He didn't give us a price of a property that we could afford and then not take into account our income and what we can afford in terms of bills, food shopping, that kind of thing. He was really, really good and really honest. So we then had a look around just to see what was on the market and see whether we wanted to buy a new build, whether we could afford to buy a property that had been there for a little while. And basically we determined that we're probably going to have to go down the route of a new build purely for the Help to Buy scheme. So funnily enough, I was actually on airport standby in August and was just having a little look online. I'd actually drove past this site that we actually ended up buying from and hadn't noticed it before. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to browse and just see what it's all about. And then found this particular building that had loads of different flats available in it. And I spoke to Vic and I was like, what do you think? Like, what do you think of apartment living? Have you ever done it before? What do you think about it? Do you think we could try it out? Did you want to do it? Did you want to go for a house? We had a real good sit down discussion to see what we wanted and jointly agree on whether we wanted a flat or a house. Yes, a big factor of it was what we could afford, but at the same time, I'd never done apartment living. Vic had when he was very young, and it just seemed like a cool idea to both of us. So we thought, you know what, we're going to try it. It's a good way to kind of have a good amount of space, but not too big of a space, and also not be responsible for the whole building, because there's many different things involved with buying a flat in terms of understanding what you do own, what you don't own, what's within your boundary of your property. When we saw these flats, we were honestly gobsmacked with the amount that we were getting for our money in terms of we got a balcony. We also got 3 storage rooms. We also got 2 bedrooms, 2 parking spaces. For the amount that we paid for it is quite incredible, really. So that's basically a backstory as to how we chose an apartment over a house. What deposit did you put down? I'm not going to really discuss numbers because I feel like that's quite private, and me and Vic both agree that we're not going to disclose anything too private on social media. However, I will discuss a little bit about the Help to Buy system and how we kind of paid our deposit. So obviously we had our own savings, and we were kind of struggling to save, really, because obviously life is expensive now, and we were trying to prioritise saving as much as possible. So I would say for the last year, we just saved and saved and saved and saved. Didn't really do a lot, didn't book any holidays. We were very strict on ourselves, and I think that's so important when you're saving. If you want one tip from me, is you really have to think about your priorities in life, whether you can miss going on a night out, whether you don't have to go for your payday meal, whether you need to go shopping, whether you need to do an online shop. A lot of the time I was like going on online shopping and filling a basket full of clothes that I really liked, and then I would just stop and I'd be like, no, I cannot do it. End up taking everything out my basket and then not going through with it. So it was really tough, and for the last year it was hard, like missing out on social events with friends and things, but it's something you have to do if buying a house or a flat is something that you really want to do. So we ended up putting down a 5% deposit because of the Help to Buy scheme. So basically how it works is you put down 5% deposit of the property price, and then the government gives you a 20% equity loan. For the first 5 years of when you're paying your mortgage, you don't pay anything back to the government for helping you out, essentially. And then after that 5-year mark, you then start paying back the equity loan. So it's not something they just give you for free. It's something that you do have to pay back eventually. But it is such a good scheme to get you on the housing ladder, and I don't have any faults with the whole system of Help to Buy whatsoever. It is something that has ended now, which is kind of something we were a little bit under pressure by, was we wanted to get onto that scheme before it ended. But honestly, I have no regrets doing that because it was such a massive help for us. Were you allowed to choose any specifics about your apartment? We absolutely were. So when we chose our plot, were in a very good position actually, because the building was pretty much done. It was more of the internals that they were finishing off building, which included things like kitchen worktops, the cupboards, the flooring, the tiling in the bathrooms. Lots of different things hadn't been done yet, and because of that we were able to pick and choose what we liked. So there was a range of different styles that we could pick for free, but there was also an additional selection of styles that we could pick worktop wise, kitchen cupboards, tiles that we could pick for an additional cost. But in our minds, we were like, we may as well just pay that little bit extra and be 100% happy with our choices, rather than just pick something from a selection of different designs and patterns that we just are picking because it's free. So we ended up going for, I'm sure you've seen it many times on my Instagram and on YouTube as well. We picked some grey kitchen cupboards. We also picked like a white and grey marble worktop. And we also picked these very jazzy tiles, which are definitely us. Very, very unique. We always like to go for the unique choices, something that's different and something that really represents us in terms of interiors, which definitely all three choices did. In terms of every other choice, the flooring we decided to do ourselves because it was cheaper for us. We knew people in the flooring trade, so doing that compared to paying through our developers was much cheaper. And also I think we could choose things like the hob and the oven, but we ended up getting an induction hob as well, which has been amazing. Really, really good, really, really quick, and also good to clean as well. I'm honestly going to do my very best to try and get through all of these questions because I know I ramble, but there is a hell of a lot to say because the whole house buying process is mad and there's a lot you need to know when you go into it. Why was your experience with your solicitors stressful? So basically, when we came to choosing our solicitors, we were a little bit in the dark because we hadn't ever had to deal with solicitors. We didn't really know what the whole situation was. We didn't even really know why we needed solicitors. It sounds so silly, but you don't really get told any of this. You never get taught it in school. So I feel like a lot of people go into this whole process very blind, and it's a shame really. And we wanted to go with the solicitors that could guide us, give us advice, just really be supportive, as well as obviously do what they need to do. Our mortgage broker actually directed us to these solicitors, said they're good, I recommend them, and we thought, oh sorry, my biscuits fell. So yeah, he directed us to them and said, yeah, they're really good, I recommend them, and we thought he was so good, we're going to go with this recommendation. So initially from the start, I was very aware that it wouldn't be communication all the time about everything that's going on, because there's always that period of silence. Once you've given them all your information, all your details that they need, there's a long period of silence until pretty much the last few weeks of before you move into the property. So we knew that. But when I say the communication was terrible, it was absolutely atrocious is the only word. I know every solicitors have to be like this, but they would just expect things like that. And when I was away, I couldn't deal with it. Vic wasn't really too knowledgeable on it, and I was very much the case of I'm happy to deal with it because once I've started it and I know the situation, it may as well be me that carries it on rather than just bouncing back between two people. That just wouldn't make the process simple. But it just got to the end where they were just making mistakes. Obviously, Vic's name is very unique. Spelling errors were made constantly. Even with my name, there were spelling errors. It was just very careless and it was really irritating. And I will say, on reflection, we would definitely do our own research next time. And I would recommend that to anyone. Do your own research. Have a look at the reviews, definitely, because when we then went on Google and looked at the reviews for our solicitors, they were awful. And I wish we'd done that prior, but we were just very naive. We were innocent, I guess, before this process. We had no idea, and we probably should have done a bit more research into it all. But hindsight is a wonderful thing, and we can't change the past, but we're here now. The solicitors are gone out of our minds, and we will never be talking to them again. But yeah, big advice, do your research. Someone has definitely been around for a very long time because they asked this question and I was like, wow, you know your stuff about me. And that is, was your credit score marked down because you had a car on finance? So I basically had a car on finance from when I was 18 until 22, so for 4 years. And I got a Vauxhall Corsa. I love my little Corsa, my little Cora. And she honestly has been one of the best purchases I've ever made. I don't regret getting a car on finance. Maybe I could have bought a property a bit sooner with Vic if I hadn't got a car on finance. But it did actually do the opposite and actually boosted my credit score because I was very on top of my payments. I was very much to the date, to the time I was doing that payment. Did a spreadsheet and all to track all of my finances to make sure nothing impacted my credit score. Vic did the same as well. So yeah, it all turned out really good, and that was actually a massive help rather than a bad impact on my credit score. So definitely, if you know you can stick to something like a car finance and you do want to buy a house in the future, definitely do it, because you get a car for a very long time after that. And I had no problems with my car whatsoever. I had a really good experience with the Vauxhall. But overall, it was a positive experience for me and a good impact on my credit score. So I kind of answered this question already, but how did you know you were ready to buy? So like I said, we were just mentally, both of us were ready to move out of our parents and have our own space. And really, we didn't know that we were ready to buy. We absolutely didn't. But it was just a case of talking to the mortgage advisor and actually understanding our situation, because you can look at your account of your savings and think, okay, that doesn't look like a lot. But then when you put it all together, especially if you're buying with a partner as well, then you actually don't realise what position you're in until you speak to someone. So you can always speak to a mortgage advisor and they might tell you, oh, you might need to save a little bit more, save for an extra year before you can comfortably buy. But you never know. You could be exactly like us. Go to a mortgage advisor and be like, oh, I can buy. What were the main things you looked for when buying a place? So I guess one thing was parking. I needed a place to put my car that was safe, and we actually got the 2 parking spaces out of this place, which is good. Main thing, I guess, was 2 bedrooms at least. We really wanted 2 bedrooms, obviously 1 to sleep in, and the second one, Vic had a massive dream of having a games room, and I was quite happy to just let him have that. And I guess the perk of it is I can maybe edit from the room as well. I can play a bit of Sims in there as well. I'm sure I can gain a little bit from it. But that was definitely something that we really wanted, was the 2 bedrooms. A lot of you might be thinking, well, do you not want a room for a potential child in the future? But we know we're not going to be having a child for a long time. It's not within our life plan, at least within the next 5 years. Definitely beyond that. We want puppies more than anything before children. So yeah, we were quite happy to just stick with the 2 bedrooms for now, and that we know within the next 5 years we probably will move on to somewhere different. This is just a couple of years situation, I guess, this flat. But a couple of things we were also looking for was a really nice open plan kitchen, diner, lounge. We really wanted to do the open plan thing, which definitely works out really well for us. We are loving it. Balcony was the bonus. Balcony is really nice because it's just nice to have a little bit of space outside to be able to feel like you have a little bit of a garden, but also not have to have a garden to attend to, because I didn't want to have to be dealing with grass cutting and all of that crap. Another thing leading on from Vic not driving is the property that we bought needed to be in a good location for him to get to work, which this one definitely is. It's also in a good location where if Vic needs to go and get anything from the shop while I'm away, he can absolutely do that without having to walk a million miles. So it was little things like that that we needed to consider also. Is your apartment closer for your commute to work? So for those of you that are quite new and haven't really seen my previous content, so I am basically a flight attendant internationally. I work at London Heathrow, and I live about, I used to live anyway, about an hour and 20 minutes away from the airport. I'm now actually 10 minutes closer, so I'm an hour and 10 minutes away from the airport, which doesn't sound like a lot of a difference, but it has been a massive help. Just 10 minutes closer is honestly a dream. And it's good for home standby as well. We do have a minimum call out from home of 2 hours, so just an additional 10 minutes is a bonus for that kind of thing. My town where I live can get really bad with traffic, especially during rush hour. So being 10 minutes closer to the motorway is honestly a dream. It helps cut that traffic out and just gives me that peace of mind that I don't really have to worry about it too much, unless there could be an accident, something like that could really cause me a problem. But apart from that, traffic's not an issue. I'm 10 minutes closer. It's honestly amazing. I love it. Did being a flight attendant impact you being able to get a mortgage? So I will give you a little insight into something that massively helps with this kind of thing. So I was really lucky, as in I got loads of recommendations for my mortgage broker because he is actually a flight attendant as well. So he does mortgage broking alongside of being crew. So he understands our pay slips through and through, which was honestly a godsend. I don't know what I would have done if I went to a mortgage broker who didn't understand it. If anything, he didn't understand Vic's pay slip more than he understood mine. So it was so helpful. And if you can kind of, I guess, do your research into that kind of thing and really find someone who has dealt with your kind of pay before. You can always absolutely ask questions before you can approach a mortgage broker and say, have you dealt with my type of pay before? And if they say yes, then absolutely go through with them. But if not, you can do research and find someone better suited to you. But I was so lucky, really, in the sense of I was able to very easily find someone who understood my pay from my direct airline exactly how it should be. So he was a massive help. I have heard some horror stories from other crew who I've worked with. I was asking lots of questions to crew who already had mortgages leading up to all of this to say, how did you find the process? And a lot of them found it hard because mortgage brokers and banks just did not understand the pay, because it is hard. It's really difficult to understand. If you guys ask me now how to break down our pay and explain it to you, I don't even know where I would start. So yeah, it was really a massive help that we went with the mortgage broker that we did. So definitely do your research and figure out whether they're going to be the right person to help you get a mortgage with your type of pay. Did you rent prior to buying? So we didn't. We actually went straight from living with our parents to buying our own property. The reason we did that is because I personally do see renting as a little bit of a barrier if you are trying to save for a property. A lot of people don't see it that way, but I personally just wanted to utilise living at home as much as possible, as did Vic, to save as much as we could to get the best property that we could for us. So I'm so glad we did it that way. Obviously that doesn't work for everyone. Some people do like to rent first just to have a little bit of a taster of what paying bills is like, whether it's affordable. But I'm sure a lot of you are aware that most of the time, not always, but most of the time, renting a property from someone is often more expensive than a mortgage. So because of that, that was another factor that we took into account. So we just went straight onto the housing ladder, which was the best option for us. What are your plans for decorating? So this is something that I think we are going to just wait a little while before we dive into the whole decorating and renovating kind of thing, because at the moment I think we're just going to take it slow. We don't really want to stress too much about trying to make this place as much of our own as possible without planning it first. We want to definitely make it so it's going to be a long-term thing rather than decorating and then hating it and then having to redo it. So yeah, I think we're just going to hold off at least a year just to get fully settled and make some plans. But also, the one thing you have to consider when buying a brand new build is the drying time for the property. So what our developers told us when they gave us a quick walk around when we picked up the keys is that we do have to wait a good 2 years for the property to dry. So there's lots of things we have to do to be able to speed up that process as much as possible. They did say we can paint the walls, but you have to use a specific type of paint just to avoid it cracking and peeling. But because of that, I think we're just going to at least leave a year before we touch the walls or do anything like that. Obviously with the flooring, that's all done. We don't need to touch that again. But with the walls and things, I'd love to do some paneling at some point, and I'd love to do that on my own because I love doing DIY stuff like that. But that's going to take time to plan, and I do have ideas for sure. But I will of course keep you posted on here as well as my Chloe's Condo Instagram home account. Are there any catches to buying a new build? So I guess you could input the last question into here and say, yes, there are a few things that you can do that you can't do. And one of those is pretty much decorating. The other thing that some developers do tell you, ours didn't actually, is that you can't necessarily drill into the walls and things like that, again, because of the drying process. Ours said it's fine because the property has been here a good few months already. Because of our solicitor situation, we couldn't move in basically as soon as the flat was ready. It did take a few months after the flat was ready before we could move in. So because of that, the walls are a little bit drier than they were when it was first built. For our personal experience, I cannot think of any other catches really that come to mind straight away. But there are things like with a new build, you get a couple of years warranty on the property, which is what we have. So if you pick up any snags, then you can get them sorted. And it's better you get them sorted with them rather than do it privately, because then it kind of interferes with the warranty a little bit. So anything we picked up, I've been straight to the customer service team and been like, can you fix this? And they're like, yep. Hence why the plumber's coming out today, which still hasn't arrived actually. So we'll see whether they actually turn up today or not. I guess you could say that one catch with buying a new build, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, is snagging. So there are often snags with new properties, just things that could be so minor, but there also could be things that are really, really bad. I've seen things on TikTok like major leaks. In our property, for instance, we've had one of our kitchen cupboards that keeps getting caught on the extractor fan, so it doesn't close properly. Just little things like that that can happen. But the good thing is with new builds is you do have the warranty. So as soon as you get a snagger in, they provide a list of everything that needs sorting, you deliver that to them, and then they have to come and get it sorted. So it's, I guess, a little bit of a catch, but also the bonus at the end of it is they do have to fix these things. Were you worried about living together considering you haven't lived together before? No, if I'm honest with you, and Vic would tell you exactly the same. The reason for that is because during lockdown, as soon as they announced the lockdown situation, I think I went through lockdown 1 on my own, and then we discussed and we were like, no, lockdown 2 is happening, we're living together. It's just too much being apart, considering we've been together for so long now. So since that point, we've pretty much just lived together the whole time. When I'm away, Vic did go back home to his parents so he could get to work a little bit easier because my mum's house was further away. But when I was home, as soon as I was home, he was straight round my mum's again, and we basically just lived together at my mum's the whole time. So because of that, we were just so used to it. Like, we would most of the time have the house to ourselves because my sister was at uni, my mum's very outgoing, so it was pretty much just living alone just at my mum's, and we knew it wouldn't be an issue. Obviously, the only thing that we knew would happen in our own place is deciding things. Obviously, at my mum's, all of the interiors are already decided by my mum, whereas for us, we had so much free reign on choices, on decor, on interiors, that we knew we'd clash with that kind of thing. But to be fair, most decisions we've made, when we know they've been right, we've both just looked at whatever it is and thought, yes. So whether that's the interiors that we got to choose with the developers, or whether it's down to, I don't know, a pillow, we know when it's right. So we knew that'd be the only catch to living together, but so far it's been really good. And we've said from the moment we've moved in, this has literally felt like a holiday. Like, every day is just so chill. We do whatever we want. We cook when we want. We clean when we want. We chill when we want. It's so great having the independence that we wanted for so long. What are some essential items you would say that you need when you move in on day one? So this is a little bit hard for us because we definitely had more of a gradual move in. So because we got the keys in December and we didn't move in until February, we had the 2 months while the flooring was being done where we could gradually move bits in. So I moved a lot of the kitchen in, so when we moved in officially, the kitchen was pretty much done and we had a space to cook. But in terms of essentials that I would definitely say that you need for moving in day is tea. Tea or coffee, whichever you drink, tea or coffee, and even some colder drinks, just some like cans to throw in the fridge or some water bottles. Something to have to drink hot and cold, I would definitely say is essential. Cleaning box for sure, you need to have some stuff to clean because especially if you're moving into a new build, dust is everywhere. And even if you're moving into an old property, not every time does the previous owners or the previous residents leave it clean. So cleaning products are definitely essential just to make your home feel a little bit more ready and fresh for you to start living in. Kettle, I guess, to go along with the tea situation, and some milk. I would definitely say some scissors. Scissors was something that I didn't really think I would need, but oh my god, I didn't realise how much I needed them until I had them. Just for things like your boxes, for breaking down your boxes to take out to recycling. Trying to do that with your hands, my hands are butchered. I've got no nails left and I'm gutted. And my nail appointment feels like it's going to take forever to come. But this is first world problems anyway. Yeah, breaking down boxes with the hands is a no-no. Definitely need some scissors. Cutlery and some plates is a must. Obviously some mugs as well to have your tea in. Definitely something to eat off of is an absolute must. And if you want to prioritise anything when you move in for the very first, I guess, hour that you're in the property, get your bed up. Get your bed up, get your bed made, so then when you're done for the day, you have somewhere to sleep. That's the first thing I did. as soon as we got into the flat, and I'm so grateful I did it. It sounds silly, but I would definitely say some painkillers. The reason I say that is because the whole day of moving is stressful. It is honestly so stressful. I didn't even move a whole property into another. I just moved my bedroom into a flat, and same for Vic. And we found it so stressful. And by the end of the day, because our mind is just on the go constantly, you get that stress headache, and having some painkillers to hand is so important. Definitely have a box available with all of your essentials in terms of personal care. So that's what I did for us. So I made sure in the box we had our deodorant, toothbrush and toothpaste, shower gel, shampoos, hair dryer, things like that. I had all in one box, just so then we could grab it and basically just noted on it essentials for day one. And that honestly was such a good idea from me, pat on the back. I loved it. And it was just so easy just to grab it and be able to shower as well. And that's another thing that goes along with that is towels. Make sure you've got your towels handy. I would say that's all of your essentials that you need for day one. I'm sure you can go online and find so many more, but that was, for me personally, I found some of the most essential things that I needed and really appreciated on my move-in day. Right, let's have one final biscuit for the road. I think at this point I just start making cups of tea just to have biscuits. Well, I really hope you found this video useful. I would definitely have appreciated a video like this before I moved in, so I knew from the second that I knew this whole process was starting that I would be doing this video at some point. So I hope this helps some of you that might be beginning your moving process. As much as people try and tell you that it is a stressful process, try not to keep that in the forefront of your mind. You have to remember that this is such an exciting time for you, and this is the first step of the rest of your life. Me and Vic pretty much didn't really accept that until we closed the door. Everyone that had helped us had gone. We looked at each other, gave each other a big hug, and we were just like, wow, like this is the start, and this is the moment we've been waiting for. All of the stress had just gone out of our minds, and we were just so excited to just get this place already. So I really hope this video gives you the advice that you need, as well as fills you with a little bit of an excitement ready for the start of your new process. Don't forget to go follow me on my Instagrams, my Chloe Jemma travel account, as well as my Chloe Condos home account, as well as don't forget to subscribe because there'll be lots of home content coming here soon. Keep an eye out.